Hey, working moms.
Hey, working dads.
Hey, aspiring working parents.
And allies of working parents.
Are you in search of your pillow?
Does it take you 24 hours just to get out the door in the morning?
Are you the family ATM?
Or the family Uber driver?
Are you on a Zoom call for work while carpooling while also watching a practice?
If so, welcome to our world, the Parents at Work podcast.
I'm Lori.
I'm Jason.
We are married.
And we have two wild and crazy redheaded boys.
We're here to shine a light on the roller coaster ride that is working parenthood. I'm a healthcare lawyer and founder of a working parent community called Mindful Return.
And I'm an executive coach with Ready, Set, Launch, LLC. I wrote a cool book called Relationships to Infinity.
And I wrote a cool book called Back to Work After Baby. Welcome back to the Parents at Work podcast. Jason, it is so good to be back on. I know we took a little bit of a hiatus, and it's perhaps appropriate that we are coming back to you during Mental Health Awareness Month, which is May. That's when we're recording this, because we had a number of mental health challenges in our family that caused us to take a little break from podcasting, but we're happy to be back. Jason, anything you want to say at the outset?
Yes, it is a pleasure to be back. Not only are we recording in Mental Health Awareness Month, but in a couple of weeks, it'll be Mother's Day. And so I think the timeliness of our segment also plays nicely.
Excellent. Okay, so today, and in this series of episodes that we're bringing you, we're excited to interview moms and dads who are lawyers serving as general counsel to an organization. And today we're really delighted to introduce you to two very talented moms. LaTanya Langley serves as the Chief People and Legal Officer and Corporate Secretary at Edgewell Personal Care, where she leads the human resources and legal functions. She earned her Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and Doctor of Laws from Trinity College, and earned her Juris Doctor from the University of Connecticut School of Law. LaTanya lives in New York with her husband, Dennis Hopkins, her son, DJ, who is 18 months old, and two white shepherds named Prince and Duchess, who she says are ages 9 and 3. Over to you, Jason, to introduce our second guest today.
My pleasure. Betsy Philpott joined the Washington Nationals baseball team legal department in April 2014. Go Nats! And was promoted to general counsel in February 2020, which means she was part of the team when they won the World Series in 2019, and senior vice president in 2022. In her role, she oversees the legal department and the human resources department, handles baseball and business transactions, and provides strategic legal and business advice to her colleagues. Prior to joining the Nationals, Betsy worked at the Major League Soccer Players Association and the international law firm McDermott, Will & Emery as an associate in the Energy and Commodities Practice Group. She earned a bachelor's degree with distinction in psychology with a minor in biology from the University of Virginia, a doctorate of jurisprudence from Vanderbilt University Law School, and a master's of professional studies in sports industry management from Georgetown University. Betsy resides in Alexandria, Virginia, with her wife, Rachel, daughter, Piper, who is 5, son, Reese, who is 3, and dog, Benson. Welcome, Betsy.
We are so excited to have you both. And I'm going to start with you, LaTanya, because I want to go in age of children, I think from youngest up to older. LaTanya, can you start off by telling us a little bit about your own personal working parent story?
Thank you, Jason and Lori, for having me. I really appreciate being a part of the podcast. My working parent journey is that it literally just happened a little over a year ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm actually an older working parent. So I had my first baby at 47 plus. I actually married, had my baby, and got my new job all in the same year.
That is a lot of life change, LaTanya.
So it was a very wonderful journey of us creating this beautiful being, but it all happened as an older parent. So most of my career was spent as a single person, single leader. So this is all very new to me.
Wonderful. Can you describe a little bit in the 18 months that you've been a working parent, what it's like to be a parent who is general counsel to an organization?
It's a journey. I mean, I was general counsel for many, many years before I became a parent. And so the role, the scope, the challenges became different and very apparent once I did have my son. Being a parent who is general counsel, but also like Betsy, the head of HR, I have both the legal and the HR functions. It's very, very challenging, especially during uncertain times as these. My 18-month-old needs lots of mommy's attention. He needs support from both me and my husband, who is also a lawyer. And while I love my job and it comes with lots of responsibilities and demands, I'm responsible for our people strategy. I'm responsible for ensuring we have the right talent and capabilities and engagement, but I'm also overseeing legal affairs and dealing with regulators and customers. And then I'm also managing to a board. Balancing those three roles as well as balancing family is not easy. And I often face trade-offs and dilemmas. Sometimes I have to miss important meetings and deadlines because of a family emergency or a family obligation. There are times where I have to work late at night and even on the weekends to catch up. And sometimes I even feel guilty for not spending enough time with my son or for not being fully present when I'm with him. And sometimes I worry about the impact of my career choices on his well-being and happiness. But I also think being a mom in the C-suite has advantages and benefits. I definitely more of an empathetic and compassionate leader. I can relate to the challenges and needs of working parents and employees. And I also can set a positive example for my son that moms can be badasses, right? And we can achieve our professional goals and aspirations, but we can also be loving and caring as moms. So I hope by being a CPO and general counsel that not only can I contribute to the life of my son, but I'm also contributing to the life of my teammates and employees and contributing to diversity and inclusion and inspiring other women to pursue leadership positions, even if they are moms.
What a beautiful and real picture you've painted there. Thank you, LaTanya. I'm going to switch over to Betsy now. Betsy, can you tell us a little bit about your personal working parent story?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason and Lori, for having me as well. And before I get into my story, I'll just say, LaTanya, I'm inspired. I think we have a lot in common. So I became a parent in 2019 when my daughter was born. And at that time, I was not a general counsel. I actually was promoted less than a year later in February of 2020. So we can all imagine as lawyers how difficult a time it was to be promoted then. I had 1 month of normalcy before the pandemic started and then went through what was probably going to be the most difficult phase of being a general counsel, knock on wood, the first 2 years of the job as top chair. And then my son was born in July of 2021. So I had a little bit of time as a parent prior to being a general counsel and then got into the role with all of the duties and responsibilities that come with it, and then added to my life with having a second one.
Awesome. And how would you describe what it's like to be a parent who is a general counsel these days?
Yes. So I would describe it as hectic. I never feel like I am completely settled and in control of my schedule, or I always feel like I'm, running and trying to catch up on whatever I'm supposed to be doing. One thing that LaTanya spoke about was the difficulty of balancing her personal life and her work life. And I struggle with the same thing. My work follows me everywhere. I might have to work at any hour of night. I might have to work when I'm at my kids' gymnastics class. It's just one thing after the other. And a lot of people depend on me, right? I have my wife and children that depend on me, but I also have this entire organization that depends on me to be ready, willing, and able to help them solve problems as necessary. Another similarity I have with LaTanya is I definitely feel the guilt, right? There's the mom guilt is real. I question all the time, am I spending enough time with my family, with my kids? My brain is racing all the time with the to-do list I've got, and I have lots of conversations with my wife about the different mental loads we both carry. She's actually more of the caregiver of the kids and the homekeeper, and I'm the person that's working. And so my mental load is tasks like pay this bill and make sure that I get back to this colleague and talk to the league about XYZ, while she's really working very hard to make sure that we've got the right groceries in the house and all the lunches are made. So that balance and working with her is very important. But I really liked that LaTanya also mentioned that she likes that she's presenting herself to her son in particular as a badass. And as a woman, and particularly as a woman in a male-dominated industry, both legal and legal within sports, I am one of the top-ranking females in this entire organization. And I'm one of a handful of female general counsel in baseball. And I want to have that as an example to my children, that they can pretty much do whatever they want to do, both my daughter and my son. And so, that's the blessing of the role that I'm in. But I will say that the balance is always hard to strike.
Yeah, you are definitely both badass working moms. I hear you on the balance, and I sort of like to toss that word balance out the window a bit. And I prefer to use words like integration. There's a wonderful psychologist named Dr. Yael Schonbrun who talks about work-life enrichment and encourages us to think about the ways that each enriches the other. So I try to tell myself the story that working is helping me be a better parent and parenting is helping me be better at my role. And there's still always tension there. I also hear you, Betsy, about the loss of control. I think with parenthood, like all control went out the window, and that is hard to cope with. Over to you, Jason, for our next set of questions.
Wow. Just wow. What a way to kick off the podcast. And I love that we have two incredible badasses that are also empathetic and caring. And clearly, as you're talking both about your roles and both of you as mothers, showing strength and showing leadership in your own voice. So incredible. I want to start off with LaTanya. No doubt that workplace supports are important in all of this as you think about becoming a new parent. So when you became a working parent, what workplace supports did you find helpful and that you utilized?
Before I answer that, I got to tell you, I also deal with mom imposter syndrome. So, for example, as I'm listening to Betsy talk about all the things that she does with both of her kids, I'm sitting here like, I could never do that. I'm so impressed. So I'm also sort of admiring Betsy for all that she does, because I only have one and she's doing this with two. So, we all as moms do that. We sort of look at each other and say, wow, am I enough? Because I see someone like Betsy doing all of these things double. And so I just wanted to mention that. And then as far as workplace supports, it's funny because you don't really notice what workplace supports exist until you're actually in the situation where you need it, right? And so, I've been doing this corporate America thing for a very long time. And it wasn't until I became a mom that I realized how much was actually missing for working moms. So, for example, some of the supports that I did find were there's flexible work arrangements, which again, I think that's a new thing since the pandemic. I'm not sure it was as flexible before then as it is now. And I always tell my team, without the pandemic happening and these new flexible work arrangements coming into existence, I don't think I even would have had a child. So it's because of the flexible workplace arrangements that I was even able to even take the time to have a baby.
That's quite a statement there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so being able to work from home, being able to adjust my hours when needed, I find that just changed the game as far as being a mom. I also found that there was good access to quality and affordable childcare. There's paid parental leave. There are also other family-friendly policies. There's lactation rooms, there's wellness programs, there's emergency backup care. So those things exist, but once I became a mom, I realized that more needed to happen within those things that I named.
And as you think about this realization and in this moment where you're seeing all of these things that are available, what's not available that you think other parents might benefit from?
Frankly, I was quite disappointed to see these support systems the way that they were set up, because I didn't actually find them to be very supportive. And what I mean by that is you can provide paid parental leave, but it not be enough. Like I found that there were some companies that were providing the bare minimum for parental support, like 6 weeks or I don't know, maybe even less. Whereas there were other companies that were providing unlimited or 20 plus weeks. And I just didn't realize how it differed from company to company on something so important as parental leave. Fertility, for example, some companies only provide benefits if you're declared infertile. If you can have a child, then you can't use the benefits to try to have a child, which made no sense to me. You had to actually be declared infertile in order to benefit from certain benefits. And so companies will say, oh, we provide fertility benefits, but it's not really that. They're providing benefits to those who are declared infertile. So that was an important distinction that I found out about that I didn't like. The other thing is helping moms get back into work. I didn't find enough programs where companies are offering guidance and advocacy to help working moms return to work. Again, having a program in place to help moms become successful when they come back, I think is critical. And I just didn't find enough programs, this is with my HR hat on, that provide that. There's lactation rooms that are required by law to be in all offices, but they don't tell you what those lactation rooms should look like. And so what I found, and this is from visiting various companies, not just my own, that when you're given a lactation room, that could be a cubicle with a phone, and that's it. Versus other places provide places where moms can sit. It's comfortable, it's private, it feels warm, and a place where you can actually work as well as pump your milk. So there was like a diverse set of rooms that don't really address the need. So I was surprised about that. Also, there were no maternity concierge services. So for example, some companies provide moms with drop-off and pickup services for laundry and dry cleaning. They offer them help with decorating nurseries or setting up a diaper service. Again, these are perks that many companies just don't provide. In addition to that, there are services out there for companies that help with the family planning journeys. There's effective wellness programs that can be transformative in helping new mothers endure the stress of balancing work and home. And frankly, these are not things that are typically provided. These are add-ons that I think should really be a part of everyday benefits. I think a lot is missing in terms of services for working moms, and we just need to do better. Thankfully, I'm in a position where I can do that. I'm honored to be the chief people officer at my company because I can influence some of these amenities that I think are necessary.
Amazing.
I just have to say amen. Amen. And thank you. And the people who come after you and have children after you will thank you. And we'll keep talking, LaTanya. The Parents at Work podcast is proudly supported by two programs, Mindful Return and Ready, Set, Launch. For the past decade, Mindful Return has helped working parents succeed both at home and at work. If you're an employer, you know how much it costs to recruit a talented employee. Let Mindful Return help you avoid those high turnover and recruitment costs. With our asynchronous group programs for new parents, we help you retain your new parent colleagues who are returning to work after parental leave. We partner with over 100 employers and have proven retention data. Learn more and sign up for a free program demo at www.mindfulreturn.com/4-employers. That's www.mindfulreturn.com/4-employers.
For more than 12 years, Ready, Set, Launch has been empowering high-performing executives, attorneys, and consultants to achieve their career and business goals. Are you looking to grow your professional services practice, engage your valuable networks, or advance your own career? Turn to Ready, Set, Launch for our interactive keynotes, engaging trainings, in both group and one-on-one coaching. We partner with Fortune 500 companies, AmLaw 100 law firms, global executive search firms, and professional and trade associations, among others. Learn more at www.readysetlaunch.net. That's www.readysetlaunch.net.
Betsy, your perspective on this topic of workplace supports, what did you experience?
Yes. By the way, LaTanya, amazing. I mean, you just gave me so much insight into things I should be looking out for and asking for, by the way. All right. So when I became a working parent, one thing that's unique about the Nationals workforce is that not only are there a lot of male employees, I'll just say there's, usually on the baseball operations side, but we also have a very young workforce. And so there's a lot of people who have not entered or are even close to entering the years when they would be considering becoming a parent. And then there's a gap. There's not a lot of people who are in their 30s and 40s. And then there's a handful of people who are older, who are either their parents, but their children are, adults now. So there's this gap of employees, first and foremost. And one thing I found is that there was an informal moms group that just came up out of the woodwork, where the moms just wanted to talk about how tough it was to work an 81 game or home schedule throughout a season and be in sports while also be a parent at the same time. One of the perks we have, though, is because we are a customer facing business, we have things like a fully built out nursing lounge that has lounge chairs and TVs and sinks and all the amenities that if you're breastfeeding that you'd want. So we've got some things that were positive and some things that had a need for improvement. One thing I was not aware of and I didn't really understand or grasp until I became a parent was just how demanding and how much time off you needed as a parent to take care of your kids between the times when they're sick, the times when their daycare or preschool or school is closed. If you have more than one and they're on different schedules, it becomes absolutely crazy. And I cannot imagine, and I'm just like in awe of all the people out there that are able to do this solo or don't have the kind of flexibility that I'm lucky to have at my job, where I can push some of my working hours to different times of day or later at night. I can, at the last minute, stay home because I've got a sick child. And, I'm also really lucky that my partner she's very supportive and she can help with this as well, too. And she takes on a lot of that load. Some of the things that I think people would benefit from in the future, I completely agree with LaTanya on a lot of these benefits that should be provided by companies. When I became a parent the first time, well, actually, both times here at the Nationals, we didn't have a parental leave policy at all. Nothing. We just used FMLA and you paired it with your PTO so that you could get paid. I did not birth my children. So if you birthed children, you could take some other benefits because of the physical toll of having children. But for the most part, there wasn't parental leave. And we did get a parental leave policy in place shortly after I became a parent the second time, which is really great for all of my colleagues. And last year, as head of HR, I helped roll out established formal employee resource groups, including one that's for working parents, so that now for both moms and dads, there's we have a resource and we're able to talk to one another and, share best practices and figure out how we can share all of the benefits that our jobs have here at the Nationals with our children. But I think the one thing that LaTanya touched on that I also really want to emphasize is something that should be coming in the future and should be more prevalent throughout all jobs is more benefits tied to fertility planning and fertility benefits, especially as a woman in our day and age where we need time to go through education, to go through all of the things you have to do to become an executive at a company. That takes time, right? And we have figured out ways to extend the ability to have children past the traditional biological clock. And that's great. But people don't have those resources and they don't know about it. I found that a lot of my female colleagues who are in their early 30s are starting to ask questions about should they freeze their eggs and what should they do? And all I can think is, why isn't there more information out there for everybody so that they can plan their lives the way they want to plan their lives and take advantage of what 2024 has to offer? I think this would really help the workforce too, because then you've got more women, especially, who are able to plan when they can have their children and when they can be a parent and not have this as something that's a tough decision to make, that they might have to leave their jobs or they might have to change the scope of what they had been planning out for many years. So I think that that's really the main thing that's on the immediate horizon. LaTanya had a million great ideas. So everything else she said, I fully support.
I'm just going to add one other thing to that is to Betsy's point, now that women and families are just making choices to have children later in life so that they can pursue their career objectives, what's happening is a lot of the new or working moms are also dealing with elder care at the same time as having children. And so, caring for aging parents, that can become incredibly stressful for working moms and their families because the responsibilities are now shifting from who's going to watch the kids, but also who's going to watch the kids and take care of dad while I'm at work, right? So that burden is also becoming unbearable as the trends are changing in terms of when people are having children. And so also having programs and benefits to offset that stress and provide access to elder care services also helps working moms. And a lot of times people don't realize you need both.
Yeah, LaTanya, you are absolutely correct. I'm in the thick of it, both up and down. I'm carrying up, I'm carrying down. And I know a lot of other people, because of how times have changed and people are having children later, this is what's happening. And what, of course, does it do? It puts a lot of stress on you, your relationship with your partner, your relationship with your parents, your relationship with your children. I mean, it's really hard to balance all of these relationships. And it is the people, it tends to be the parents in the middle generation that are taking on the whole load.
They call us the sandwich or panini generation for a reason.
Yes.
What's wonderful with what you're saying, Betsy, with you're saying, LaTanya, is that nexus of your own career planning and your own family planning. And I love how both of you are coming at with such honesty and such directness because these things need to be addressed. And because you are both in these wonderful places in your own careers, there are these things that you needed to figure out that was actually hard that we have an opportunity to make so much easier. So thank you for sharing that. As we evolve in this conversation, I want to stay with you, Betsy. So I want to take you back, now you're the general counsel of the Washington Nationals. I want to take you back to your first job. What was that? And what do you think you learned from it looking back at that initial opportunity? What were you doing in your first job?
Thanks, Jason. My first job was I worked at a movie theater when I was in high school. I was also a tutor, so I did a lot of those jobs. And the tutoring job was excellent, by the way. There's a lot of flexibility. The parents usually feed you. That's a great job when you're a teenager. The job at the movie theater taught me a lot more, probably, because I learned not only how hard it is to work on your feet for 7-8 hours in a row. This will date me, but I was working in a movie theater when Titanic came out and there were midnight airings of Titanic on weekend nights. So it was like a 3.5 hour, almost 4 hour movie. And, I'm working at 4 a.m. cleaning up people's popcorn. So I learned a lot about, what I wanted to do moving forward. And that's given me an appreciation for the things that are great about my job. Right. And I had mentioned some of those previously, but the flexibility, obviously one thing I love about being a general counsel and a lawyer is that it never grows old. There's always a new problem to solve. I'm always learning something new. This humble job I had back in my teenage years that left me smelling like popcorn and hot dogs is, maybe that translates perfectly to today because I can go get some popcorn and hot dogs as we speak.
There you go. There you go. Oh, Betsy, I love it. I love it.
Jason, if you're not going to out yourself, I am.
I will. Okay.
All right,
I will out myself. Betsy, you need to know that when I'm doing dishes downstairs, I'm listening to the Titanic soundtrack.
Wow.
Yes.
It's alive and well in our house.
Still, it's what I don't know.
Again. He took a long hiatus from it.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's something that I zone out to that allows me to just like get into the dishes, and it's Titanic. I don't know why. So,
well, I'm happy to hear that, and I'm happy to hear you do the dishes.
Yes, that is something we also share in the house, and we're gonna have a whole other conversation on division of labor. So, Betsy, that's wonderful. On to LaTanya. So, LaTanya, what was your first job? What did you learn from it?
My first job was actually in high school. I told my principal I wanted to be a lawyer. So he talked to a partner at a law firm and asked him to create a role for me as a legal assistant at a law firm while I was in high school. So my first job, I was a paralegal at a large Connecticut law firm, and we worked on the big asbestos cases at the time. And so I basically learned what it was like to be a lawyer because I got to sit around them all day, every day, even if I was only filing and delivering folders and handing signature pages to partners. I got to see it all in action for a number of years before I actually went to law school. So what did I learn? I learned what to do as a lawyer and what not to do as a lawyer. Because in fact, the partner that hired me was arrested and taken to prison for embezzlement
Oh my
as I
gosh.
was his intern. So,
Oh my gosh.
so interesting enough, I led compliance programs and, I did a lot of government investigations as a lawyer. And it all came from my experience of watching what actually happens. I mean, I had real life examples of what to do and what not to do as a lawyer.
LaTanya, that's amazing. And you and I are living in parallel worlds because my first job was actually as a file clerk and legal assistant at a large New Jersey law firm. And the way that I got that opportunity was that I was babysitting for a partner. And she said to me, listen, if you can get my kids to bed on time, you can manage our files. So I love that that was your first job.
I'm going to shift over and just ask you, let's start with you, LaTanya. We'll stay with you. What one or two skills do you think that you've gained through parenthood that are so helpful to your career as a general counsel?
Wow. So before I had him, I still am, but I'm not as much, but I'm very red as a leader. And if you know what that means, it's very much the let's get it done fast, very competitive, very ambitious, got to be the first one in, got to be the last one out every day. That was me. Once I had my son, I became much more patient. I didn't even have patience. That wasn't a quality of mine. It just did not exist. And now all of a sudden I have this patience. And frankly, it just makes me such a better leader. Empathy, I had it, but I have it at a totally different level now. Like, I mean, I care about people, but now I really care about people. And again, that all comes from parenting. I've become a better problem solver. I thought I knew about crisis management until I had him. So, I can,
There's a crisis like every hour with a newborn.
Exactly. And now I think when there is a crisis, I think I react very differently because I know what it really means to have a crisis. I've become a better multitasker. And frankly, I think I have more resilience. I feel like it's okay to fall and fail and wake up the next day and try harder and go at it again. Whereas I think failure had a different meaning for me before I had a child. So now it's like I fail every day, but I'm okay with that, because I know I have the next day to do better. And that all comes from being a mom.
Parenthood is such a perspective shifter. My goodness. Thank you, LaTanya. That was a great list. How about you, Betsy? What skills have you gained through parenthood that are also useful and helpful in your career?
It's funny, LaTanya mentioned patience because that is the one thing that when I was preparing for this podcast, I wrote down. And it was actually something I didn't have a lot of prior to becoming a parent. It was actually a trait that I was worried about how impatient I was in general and how I would approach parenthood with being such an impatient person. But somehow having children flipped a switch in me. And now I am definitely much more patient than I ever was. And it's one of my strengths. Now I think that I can really slow down, focus, give them the attention that they need in the moment. Things are going to take a long time. Getting out of the house takes a long time, right? Every sock, every shoe, every trip to the potty, it's going to take a while to get out of the house and you just embrace it, right? And you get used to the fact that you might be late and that's going to be okay. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? You might be a little late. I think the other main skill that I've gained is honing in on my prioritization skills. So as a lawyer, it's, and especially as the general counsel, it's extremely important that I can prioritize all of the projects and asks that are in front of me and help my team figure out what they should do and in which order they should do it. Because obviously as a lawyer, people come to you and they say, this is an emergency. It's the most important thing that has to be done. And it's a skill we develop to figure out what really is an emergency and what really has to be done in that moment. But then when you balance in being a parent with that, it's helped me a lot because now I can see even more, this thing can wait. This is not that important. This thing might not ever happen. We don't need to do it today. And it allows me to put the other half of my life, the personal life, in perspective and really balance it well, I guess, integrate it well, right, Lori? We should be using integrate the two well together so that I'm prioritizing the right things with my family. And if that means that I'm going to some event at their preschool and in lieu of doing work from 12 to 2, then that's great because I can always do that work later. So I would say it's the patience and the prioritization skills.
We are amazing at triage. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to hand the mic back to Jason for our lightning round. A couple of wrap-up questions. This has been such a fun conversation. Back to you, Jason.
Truly. Okay, Betsy, we'll stay with you. 3 lightning round questions. 1, with 2020 hindsight, what piece of advice would you give yourself when you became a parent? That's the first one. Second one is, what's one book that's influenced your parenting? That's 2. And the third one is, what is one thing you think other parents should know about? Could be an invention or technology or tool program you want to spread the word about that has helped you. So, advice to yourself, a book that's influenced you, and one thing other parents should know about.
Okay, great. This is fun. All right. Advice to myself. It's a relentless grind. It's a beautiful grind. So you need to make sure that you put your phone away. You give everybody the focus that you can give them and cuddle and play, but also to schedule time for yourself, for you and your partner, for you and your friends, just so that you can remember to find yourself as you're parenting. Book. All right. So now I don't read much anymore. I don't really have the time. I do consume audiobooks on my commute, but the books that I would say have made the biggest difference in my life, especially as a parent, one of them is Daring Greatly by Brene Brown and Approaching Parenthood with Vulnerability. You know, I would say my parents' generation didn't know any better, but they didn't understand how important it was to show that as an adult, you go through every single emotion as well and how to properly handle, you know, all of the emotions that we feel and prioritizing mental health and, you know, addressing it appropriately. I also, just as another read, would highly recommend Essentialism by Greg McKeown, which is really helpful at prioritization. And then one thing for parents to know about, I would say super simple songs. It's all over YouTube. There's an app. In the pandemic, in the early months of the pandemic, when we were at home and my 11-month-old didn't have daycare anymore and I was trying to work this job as general counsel, we put a lot of super simple songs on. It's basically nursery rhymes and other common songs, but it's really cute animation with it.
Betsy, I love all of it. You're prioritizing your mental health and yourself, music, being human, all great thoughts. LaTanya, you're 3.
So advice is give yourself grace. It's okay to say no. If you can't be there for that work meeting or that event because you have something that you needed to do with your child, it is okay to say no and be there for your child. And then, you know, set realistic deadlines. If someone needs something from you an hour from now, you can go back and say, hey, do you mind if I get that to you in 2 hours or 3 hours? Give yourself some grace. Book, I read What to Expect When You're Expecting before, during, and after the baby was born. And I thought that book was really helpful because basically it lets you know that anything you expect just doesn't happen the way you expect it to happen. And I think it helps set realistic expectations. So that was really helpful. And then what invention or tool? Oh, I have one. It's called the Fisher-Price Jumperoo Roaring Rainforest. And basically it's this little jumpy toy that you can sit your baby in and they just jump all day. And you can literally put them in there, run to the bathroom. You can run, grab something to eat. You can answer the door. You can do all these things and the baby can't go anywhere. So it's like the greatest save when you're stressed out or there's something you just have to handle and you can't hold the baby while you're doing it. So I think that's a great invention. And then the last one, to Betsy's point, it's called Gracie's Corner. And it's just basically a animated cartoon with fun songs that add a little flavor and R&B to it. So that's another fun cartoon or music activity that can be used when you're with your children.
Love it.
I'm just laughing at how many moments of parental sanity have been gained by the jumperoo. I mean, that thing is amazing. Well put, LaTanya.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Betsy. It's been a pleasure, LaTanya, to have you both on the Parents at Work podcast. You have brought a sense of both honesty, humility, and yes, you're both badasses. And I'm just thrilled to have heard your journeys and your stories.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Parents at Work podcast.
If you liked what you heard, don't just turn us off and walk away. Please help us get the word out by doing one of these 4 things. 1, subscribe to the podcast. 2, share this episode with at least one working parent, friend, or colleague.
3, if your organization has a parent or caregiver employee resource group, share it with them too. And finally, 4, leave us a quick review on iTunes. You've got this, moms and dads.